Well folks, this is the last instalment of Project Pre-War Restoration because I have completed it. There is nothing left to be done. It's my 1935 Raleigh. If you've been following this series, I bought this from Bewley Auto Jumble, the Spring Auto Jumble, earlier this year, 2022. Paid £80 for it, and it wasn't a wreck at all. No, that's the wrong word. That's injudicious of me. It was what you might call, or what people commonly refer to as, a barn find. It hadn't been used for a long time. It was full of dirt and grime, etc., which probably, undoubtedly helped to preserve it. But it needed a thorough overhaul. Some parts of it may not have even been serviced at all, or at least very, very minimally over its nearly 90-year life now. Since getting it back on the road, it's established itself as a firm favourite of mine. It is a very different bike to ride than the later Raleigh products. There are differences in construction, which you will see, mainly the rear seat stay, which is bolted on there, crimped at the ends and bolted on as opposed to braced. And I made a mistake. It's not a 23-inch frame. It's more like a 22 or even 21. And it is a very nimble bike, very free running, pretty fast as well. It doesn't look it, but it is. It's certainly quicker than the later roadsters. I've no idea what model it is. Maybe someone with a catalogue for 1935 can enlighten me. But I'm just enjoying riding it now. The last big job was the pedals, and it's the only part of this restoration I had any difficulty with, because one of the end caps was holed. I did struggle to get the other end cap off because these unscrew, and unfortunately I ended up destroying it in the process because it just would not shift at all. So there was no other option but to get the mole grips on it. So these have been rebuilt. The pedals are actually, the bearings and bearing cups are actually shot in the pedals. They have been neglected for a very, very long time, but I've reused them, and I mean they spin quite well. Before the pedal blocks were turning, with my foot on them, they were turning against my foot, so they were coming round, which was no good at all. So they're all tickety-boo now. You see, they're old stock Romac pedal rubbers. I used the original ball bearings. As I say, it needs new pedals completely, but they're running now without any noise. There's no noise, no roughness in them now. I did pack them well with grease, so I'm happy with them. They do suit the general overall condition. Patina is in keeping with the rest of the bike, so I've no plans to change them. Yeah, I wire wooled these up, you know, cleaned them up, replaced one end cap there, the one that was damaged, and I don't know, I may have replaced both of them actually. I think I did, you know, I can't remember. So that's all done. It's proved to be perfectly reliable. There's been a few running adjustments had to be made, you know, just to get it suited to me, because each rider is different. The chain, the split link there, if you're dealing with one if you're dealing with one of these, be sure to put the closed end in the direction of travel, like so. Gear change cable, I've replaced that now with a genuine original old stock example, you know, with the coating on it. So that was nice. It's all set up well, using the original, I think it's, well, I don't know how many teeth it is, probably 17, I think 17 or 18, I can't remember, but I find the gears to be perfect. The quadrant shifter there, I have just angled that slightly in, you know, instead of it being perfectly upright. The reason for that is when you make a gear change, the ratchet mechanism, as it were, is on that side, so you can see that. So I've angled it slightly outwards, because obviously changing it with your right hand, it needs to engage with those holes there. So I mean it is sprung, but it just makes it easier to locate. The bell, well, that's what I've been restoring in you know, very small mini series Lucas model, what is it, 216? Yeah, Lucas model 216. You can see various lights there in the background, which I'll be moving on to. So the 216, something I did find out, I think it was Mr. Velocipedium, he had pre-war BSA or Raleigh or something, and it had cardboard grips like this did originally. Well, mine had the remains of them. At any rate, they were unusable. You'd have to go back to the first video to see, but the sorry remains of some cardboard handlebar grips. Well, apparently they were the original ones. They used cardboard in those days, which I never knew. So you learn something every day. But the bell, yeah, it's not the loudest, but it's a nice nice small one that suits the bike, I think. It's in keeping, it's of the period. The saddle has been quite comfortable, that's the one it came with. Still not repaired the tool bag yet, but yeah, otherwise I'm very pleased with it, and I'm just enjoying riding it. I think these mudguard stays have been the results of a repair in the bike's life, because it seems to me that these are the remains of old ones, you know, where these are fastened, much like the later Raleighs. As you can see, another one there, you see. So they might have broken for whatever reason, and somebody has fitted these, which is a nice part of the bike's history, really. It's one hungry Mr. Blackbird, because it is that time of year now where it's starting to get cold. It is cold. It's the coldest day it's been so far today. I don't know, I can't remember if I showed you these, but they were the original pedal rubbers. Long perished. You can just make out Raleigh there, just about. So they are the originals, I'm sure. It's the season of the year now where it's dark and gloomy, so often need lights on the bike. I've got a selection here, you know, which is suitable for this bike, and I was using these to begin with. That's a nice one, Pifco, but you know, using 2 D cells in it on the bracket there, if I went over a bump, you know, a severe bump, it was enough, the jolt was enough to make that jump off the bracket. So it's already picked up a dent there where it's hit the tarmac. I don't want to risk breaking that lens or anything else, so I've retired that for now. It was a good light though. This one is an old Ever Ready. That suited the bike as well, probably 1950s this one. It took the long obsolete Ever Ready old batteries with a sort of spring, you know, a contact on the front and one at the top. But I have made an adapter myself so I can use 2 D cells in there. Very simple to make an adapter up for one of those. If there's any interest, I would cover that in another video, because there are lots of these around now. You can't get the batteries for them, of course, but you can adapt them. I know there are conversions out there, but they use C cells, which may not be man enough to power these for long enough. So my conversion uses D cells, which also fit snugly in the casing. As a lamp to see by, it's terrible because there is no lens at all. It's just a reflector, so the light is not focused. A trial run quickly established that it was useless, so that is no longer used, apart from maybe, you know, in town, in well-lit areas where it's more important to be seen than to see. Moving on to these oil lamps, well, they could well have been used on a 1935 bike. Very high quality Lucas. I did a night ride video with one of my mates where we used these, and they are dated on these lamps. There's usually a date code stamped on them. There underneath 1126, which I believe is November 1926. That's a nice one, you know, with the bullseye lens. Lucas Planet. Moving on to the one I have been using extensively. It's full of oil, so I won't tip it up. Is I don't know if you can see that. I struggled to see it first of all. Kinglet. They did have nice names for things then. So I've got a Planet and a Kinglet. And the Kinglet has this, if I can just open this up, this opens for cleaning, but it's got that amazing glass sort of mirror reflector there, which is highly effective. It is quite a very effective lamp, having trialled it on dark roads. Oops. And it has the green side lights as well, with suspension fit and bracket clamp there, as does the tail lamp. You screw that in to positively lock it on the bracket, which prevents them from jumping off, which is what happened to that Pifco. Last but not least, one of the newfangled electric lights, dated 1936, 12/1936. So this would have been state of the art. Again, you know, a carryover of the side lights there. 3-position switch, B or D, which I take to mean battery off and dynamo. There's a little pilot light there for the battery, and then the main car type bulb for the dynamo. There is a compartment inside for a battery. If I can do this, just bear with me. You can see there, I do need to rewire this. I was hoping a PP9 would fit in or something, but it's the battery's just a bit too big. But yeah, it could be wired through dynamo. There's the hole for the wires, but I don't have a dynamo on this bike. I've got a lamp bracket. I've no intention of fitting a dynamo to it. Because of the shape of the aforementioned seat stay, it's like a sort of compressed oval shape, which is pretty awkward for the, if I can get this thing to focus, it's an odd shape for the dynamo to bracket to fit. But yeah, it's quite a big lamp, a sort of, you know, pork pie shape. If I can just balance the bike there. This is perils of not having a built-in prop stand. But that suits the bike. Quite an impressive, imposing headlamp that. So yeah, I would like to get it working, you know, if you're under some battery power or something. I don't know. But as I say, for the most part, I've been using this, the Kinglet. So I'll just pop that on there, just for demonstration. Now, that ages the bike considerably. It makes it look Edwardian, you know, 1910s, 1920s. Well, of course it is, you know, the design of lamp is from that time. So that does really, really make the bike look old. I do wonder how many of those were still in use in the 30s. Probably quite a lot, because oil was cheap, economical, and as I say, it does give a good light, you know, just for utility riding. So yeah, that was a good buy. Pleased with that one. And that was all. So you see, as soon as I remove that, the modern lines, because it is still a modern shape, you know, the bike, the cycle frame, it was perfected in the 1920s, even earlier. So yeah, it's all done. There will be more, you know, a few videos where I ride it, but in this series of the restoration, it is now all complete. There are no further videos coming up. That is the end. It's done. And just before I go, I have neglected to mention I replaced the fork thimbles there. Ever so slightly different profile to the old ones, but the old ones were corroded, unsightly and rotten, so I've popped new thimbles in, and I'm glad I did. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the series, and that's it. It's just there to be ridden, used and enjoyed now. TTFN.